Most fruit tree problems that gardeners try to solve with fertilizer are actually caused by something far simpler: iron that's locked in the soil and unavailable to the tree. I see people dumping expensive micronutrient blends under their trees every season, thinking the soil is depleted. Meanwhile, the leaves stay pale, the new growth stalls, and the fruit stays small. The frustrating part is that the soil often already contains plenty of iron. It's just not in a form the roots can absorb. That's exactly why an old-school technique, burying rusty nails near fruit trees, still works. It sounds almost too simple, but after testing this method in backyard orchards, raised beds, and even experimental container systems, I've seen it noticeably improve leaf color, vigor, and overall tree performance when it's used correctly. If you're serious about growing your own food and want techniques that actually improve plant performance instead of just sounding clever, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I focus on practical garden methods that hold up in real soil, not just theory. The real reason fruit trees struggle with iron is availability, not quantity. Most soils contain massive amounts of iron bound inside mineral particles. The issue is that plants can't access that iron once it's locked up. In alkaline soil especially, iron becomes insoluble. The roots might be sitting in soil full of iron, but they still act like they're starving. That's when you see the classic symptom: leaves turning yellow while the veins stay green. It shows up on apples, citrus, peaches, figs, and even grapes. Gardeners call it chlorosis, but the root cause is usually iron that the plant can't access. Throwing more fertilizer at the problem often doesn't fix anything. In many cases, soluble iron supplements wash away quickly or bind up in the soil, just like the existing iron did. A slow source of oxidizing iron behaves very differently. Rusty iron creates a slow mineral feed for the soil ecosystem. When steel rusts in moist soil, it slowly forms iron oxides. Those oxides interact with soil microbes, organic acids, and moisture. Over time, small amounts of plant-available iron enter the root zone. This isn't a fast chemical dump like liquid fertilizer. It's a gradual process that can last months or even years. In my own orchard rows, I usually bury rusty nails around the drip line of each tree. That's where the feeder roots are most active. Placing the iron near those roots gives the soil biology the best chance to process it. For a young tree with a canopy around 1 meter wide, I typically bury around 10 to 15 small steel nails about 15 centimeters deep. Mature trees with a wider canopy might get 20 to 30 nails spaced evenly around the drip line. They don't need to be large nails. In fact, smaller nails rust faster and interact with the soil more efficiently. What matters is that they're plain steel, not galvanized or coated. I usually leave the nail heads slightly below the soil surface so they stay buried but don't interfere with mulching. Soil biology does most of the real work here. The rusty nail trick doesn't work because plants magically absorb rust. The real mechanism involves microbes. Beneficial soil bacteria produce compounds called siderophores. These compounds bind to iron and transport it toward plant roots. Fungal networks in the soil also help mobilize micronutrients, including iron. When a small iron source begins oxidizing underground, it becomes part of that biological system. The microbes convert trace amounts of the iron into soluble forms, and the roots absorb what they need. That's why the method works best in living soil systems rich in organic matter. If the soil is sterile, compacted, or biologically inactive, the effect is much weaker. Compost makes this trick far more effective. One thing I've learned after years of soil work is that rusty iron alone isn't the whole solution. It performs best when it's paired with active compost. Every spring I apply a compost ring roughly 5 to 7 centimeters thick around the base of fruit trees, extending out toward the drip line. That compost layer feeds microbes, improves moisture retention, and produces the organic acids that help unlock minerals. The rusty nails sit underneath that compost layer, interacting with moisture and microbial activity. But compost only works properly when the pile itself is active. A pile that never heats up often produces weaker compost with fewer beneficial microbes. Once I started paying attention to compost temperature, the quality of my compost improved dramatically. A healthy compost pile usually reaches somewhere between 55 and 65 degrees Celsius in the center during the active phase. That heat tells you microbes are actively breaking down organic matter and stabilizing nutrients. One simple tool that helped me monitor that process is the Rio Temp 20-inch backyard compost thermometer. It's basically a long stainless probe that reaches deep into the pile so you can check the core temperature instead of guessing from the outside. When I started using one, I realized some of my piles were barely active, while others were running hot and producing much better compost. If you're curious about it, the link to the product is in the description. It's a small tool, but it removes a lot of the guesswork from compost management. And better compost directly improves how well the rusty nail method works. Where I've seen the biggest improvements is in fruit trees. The biggest improvements tend to show up in slightly alkaline soils where iron is present but poorly available. Citrus trees especially respond well to this approach. I tested the method on a row of young peach trees that kept showing mild chlorosis every summer. Instead of applying chelated iron again, I buried about 20 rusty nails around each tree and added a thick compost mulch ring. Within one growing season, the new leaves came out darker green and the trees pushed noticeably stronger shoots. Another place this works well is raised beds that contain dwarf fruit trees. Raised beds often have compost-rich soil, but limited mineral diversity. Adding small iron sources helps balance that system over time. Container trees can also benefit, although the scale is smaller. In a large container, around 50 liters, I might bury 3 or 4 small nails near the outer edge of the potting mix. The rusting process still occurs as long as the soil stays moist. Hydroponic systems are a different story. If you're running hydroponic fruiting plants, the rusty nail trick doesn't apply directly. Hydro systems require iron in chelated soluble form because the nutrient solution has no soil biology to process metals. In those systems, iron is usually supplied as Phe-EDTA or Phe-DTPA. Those chelated forms remain dissolved in water and stay available to roots. But the underlying principle is the same. Plants don't just need nutrients present, they need them available. Soil gardeners rely on microbes and mineral weathering. Hydroponic growers rely on chemistry. Different systems, same basic rule. There are limits to this technique, and it's important to understand them. Rusty nails are not a miracle cure for every nutrient problem. If your soil pH is extremely high, above about 8, iron availability becomes extremely limited regardless of how much iron exists. In that situation, improving soil structure and gradually adjusting pH often matters more than adding additional iron sources. Compacted soil also reduces nutrient uptake because roots struggle to breathe and microbes become less active. That's why I always treat rusty nails as part of a broader soil strategy rather than a standalone fix. Healthy soil structure, organic matter, moisture balance, and microbial life all matter far more than any single amendment. Why older gardening methods often work surprisingly well. One thing I've learned from older growers is that many traditional practices evolved through observation rather than laboratory science. Gardeners noticed certain techniques worked and kept repeating them. Burying small iron objects near fruit trees probably started that way. Over time, people noticed greener leaves and stronger growth, Now we understand the biology behind it, but the principle hasn't changed. Slow mineral release combined with living soil tends to produce stable, resilient plants. That's the real lesson behind this old rusty nail trick. So every spring when I'm preparing the orchard beds, I carry a small bucket of rusty nails and bury them around the drip lines of the fruit trees. It takes a few minutes per tree, costs almost nothing, and quietly supports the mineral balance of the soil for the rest of the season. If you found this useful and you want more real-world gardening methods like this, subscribe to the channel. And if you know another gardener struggling with pale fruit tree leaves or weak growth, share this video with them. Because the best gardens aren't built by buying more products. They're built by understanding how soil, minerals and biology work together to grow better food year after year